Hey guys, this is the Sports Hub. I'm Connor O'Gara. The bad news is that basketball season ended last Thursday. All four of our boys teams lost in the quarterfinal at state. Girls basketball did not get that state championship. Kearney Catholic made a good bid for it, but just couldn't get past Pierce. So that means it's the end of the season. But the good news, that means it's awards time. We have 6 different awards that we're going to be handing out today. We want to highlight individual performances. We want to highlight team performances, and then talk about kids that are going to be back next year and kids that are going to have real big impacts. But before we talk about any of that, we're going to talk about an individual performance. This is the best individual performance of the season, and that's Jake Samuelson of Bertrand. He had a 47-point game in the beginning of the season, an overtime win against Elwood. And Kurt Bonzoff probably said it best about why his team lost that game, and it was just too much Samuelson. Samuelson is a kid that can absolutely light it up. Nearly led the Vikings to a victory against Bancroft Rosalie in the first round of that state quarterfinal game, and just an impressive performance by him in that early season game. Samuelson, a kid that is going to be able to play on a college level. Yes, he's D2, didn't necessarily play against that elite competition during the season, but plays a lot of basketball over the summer. He's going to be one to watch for down the road. Our clutch moment is a moment that I actually got to witness. That was about a little over a month ago, and that was Trevor McEwen of Lexington hitting that absolute dagger to stun Cozad in the final seconds. The Minutemen come down the court after being down 1, and McEwen just pulls up with Connor Young's hand in his face, and he's able to knock down a jumper that Minutemen fans will not be forgetting anytime soon. A moment that McEwen surely is going to be replaying over and over in his mind. Not the best year for Lexington, but we're able to get a win in districts, an important step for a very young group, a group that's going to have a lot of talent coming back. McEwen going to be one of those key pieces of the puzzle again next year. An old term that Nathan Hart and I used to throw around together was that glue player term, and this is our all glue team award. We actually have 1 boy and 1 girl that were selected for this, and on the boys side, it's none other than Jeremiah Perkins of Southern Valley. This is a kid that I wrote a feature about a month ago, a kid that has meant so much to that Eagle program and what John Miller has built there. And John Miller calls him Mr. Mechanic because he just does all the little things. He loves doing the dirty work. Even as a senior, he was still the guy that was diving on the floor for those loose balls, getting those big rebounds, and being the defensive stopper that team needed. Southern Valley made a 3rd straight trip to state. Could they have done it without Perkins? I don't believe so. A guy that is going to be missed immensely by John Miller in that program, has just done everything that they could have ever asked him to do, and is going to have a lot of success, I believe, at the collegiate level. He's going to Northwestern Iowa. He's going to be a track star. He's going to play some football. A guy with very good things ahead of him. On the girls' side, we're actually going to be looking at somebody that didn't even start this season, but Michelle Messbarger was so important, being the glue player that really held Kearney Catholic together. Whether it was getting steals and providing that lift off the bench defensively, or just kind of getting the Kearney Catholic offense settled down, she did such a good job of that this year. She is somebody that Rick Petrie relied on a lot to really be the defensive enforcer, so to speak, and getting teams just kind of frustrated. And she was the one that was just so pesky that ball handlers hated to deal with. And she's going to be probably in a starting role next year, of course, losing a great player in Whitney Colling, but Messbarger is somebody that is going to be capable of filling those shoes, I believe. Somebody that is really going to thrive getting even more minutes next season. A lot of kids across the Hub territory will be missed, but these 4 especially will really be missed by their respective coaches. This is our You'll Be Missed award, and we're going to start with a kid last year who was the 3rd leading scorer on his team, Brady Stanage of Ravenna, a kid that put in the time in the offseason to really develop himself into a machine this year. He was an absolute beast on the low block. For a Ravenna team that did not have a whole lot of depth, he really had to play pretty much every minute of every game and give all the energy that he had on the offensive side of the ball for that Ravenna team to get rolling. He was so good on the low block for them. Just a kid that understood spacing and really emerged and became a guy that Paul Baronic relied on so much to get that team going. Stanage, a kid that averaged I think over 22 points a game this year, and really was a guy that could take care of the defensive glass too. Just a guy that you cannot speak as to how much of an impact he had on that program. Definitely one that will be missed by Paul Baronic. And then we're going to go back to Southern Valley, Hunter Quinn, a guy that has been so immensely important in that 3-year state run that John Miller's group has had. A kid that just does it all. He can go up and get the rebounds, he can go up and throw down a dunk for you, he can make the nice pass, he can do anything that you ask of him. At 6'3", there really was not anything that Quinn wasn't capable of doing on a basketball floor. Just a great athlete all around too. A kid that wants a state golf championship, had a really good year for the Eagles on the football field too. Just a kid that is going to be doing really good things in the future moving forward at whatever sport he decides to play. on the girls' side, there might not have been a more important all-around player than Kelsey Stitham was for Kearney High this year. A player that, as a senior, was actually asked to be a point guard for Jason Boyd's squad. Not necessarily a role that she was used to, but got more and more used to it by the end of the season, became a much better ball handler, and was still able to knock down that outside shot. She can penetrate, she can kick, she can do a lot of different things for an offense, but really I thought her presence was felt immensely down the stretch as a defensive stopper. She would pretty much be the one that was asked to rely on to stop an opposing team's best player, and did such a good job of it. Somebody that just got her hands in the passing lanes and really understood what it took to be a great defender, and had that kind of instinct to just kind of lift her team in that way. And I think Boyd is really going to miss a player like that could just do so many different things for him. You talk about what Kearney High has become, and that's a team that's made state 2 straight years. That is such a difficult thing to do in Class A, to go from where they were when Stitham was a freshman to turn that team into a team that's going to state year after year. That's something that Boyd is certainly going to miss, having the presence that Stitham had on that team. And then we're going to go to Holdridge, where Jenna Gillespie just was so important for BJ Blaze's group. She will certainly be missed as, you know, kind of the one that really got everything going for the Dusters. She could knock down big shots here and there. She was one that really kind of fueled that offense when they had those great low post players and Jeldon and Isaacson, and just was somebody that could be relied on night in, night out to give you a great effort. She's so feisty too on the defensive side of the ball. She could get steals, and she could just really make an opposing coach's game plan really difficult to plan for. Gillespie is somebody that has been such a part of really good Holdridge success in the last few years, and it's somebody that is going to be awfully tough for them to replace. That's a young team, but Gillespie going to leave a very big hole. This is our "they're still here" award, and we don't mean that in a bad way. We mean that in a way that's probably what opposing coaches are going to think when they're scrolling through the game plan and they realize that that player is still on that team's roster. They probably thought they graduated like 2 years ago. First kid that we're going to look at, Nate Bob, Wood River, a guy that has played like a coach's son in his first 3 years on that varsity squad. Wood River had a really good season, got another 20-win season, but had to face a talented GICC team in a sub-district final. Just kind of bad luck, I thought, for that team. And Bob was such a big reason as to why they were in that position in the first place. A guy that could score 2 or 3 points in the game and still be the best player on the floor. He might be the best passer that we had in the Hub territory this season, a true point guard in every sense, and just kind of understands the way an offense is supposed to work. And he's going to be immensely important for that squad next year. They're going to have a little bit of a facelift, but Ba could be a guy that is put into an even bigger role offensively, and I think Wood River will still be one of those teams in contention with Ba at the center of that offense. And then speaking of offense, how about Skylar Snyder? You don't really have to look far to find offense with a girl like her, somebody that is capable of taking over a game like she did in that district final game. Of course, 29-point effort against a really good Fremont team. And this is a player that has developed each of the last 2 seasons and become an even better scorer. She wants to develop that outside game and wants to be a true threat at any given spot on the floor. And I know Boyd is going to put in the effort in the offseason to be able to develop that skill set. But Snyder, just somebody that's going to continue to get buckets for that Kearney High team. This is our Lookout Next Year award. Teams that we expect to be back in the fold, pushing for another state berth and maybe even a state championship next year. How about on the boys' side, Amherst, a team that I've talked about so much this season. A little bit of a disappointing effort, I thought, in that quarterfinal game, but you know, they were battling the flu all week, really did not have their best offensive effort. Ended up losing to a High Plains team that went on to win the D1 title, but Amherst just returns so much talent. They lose Cale Preble, a guy that was immensely important in what they did defensively, but they return everybody else. He was the only senior on that team. To have Eckhout back, Tabenheim, Adelong, and of course Holden Eckhout back as well. This team is going to be dangerous, and to add a healthy Ty Hadwiger could be really important to this team. I just think that Amherst is one of those teams that is going to be one of the best teams if they are to stay in D1 next year. A team that is going to be capable of playing with the caliber that they saw at state this year. It was their first state experience this year, and Bill Giffen even said, you know, teams don't win state championships just by getting there one time and doing it in that first appearance. So good state experience for them this year. Definitely going to be one of those teams to watch next year. And then how about the Minden girls? Yeah, we talk about Taylor Kissinger, we talk about Rebecca Stewart. They're back again next year. That's a bit of a scary thought. The Whippets return a ton of talent. Of course, they still have Emily Malcolm. They still have Jenna Denny. This is a group that is going to be bidding for a state title year after year. I know Rick Hermosa is really appreciative of the fact that he still has a young group. But with the Whippets, it's all going to be about getting over that Pierce hump. 3 straight years in which Minden has lost to Pierce at state. They, of course, want to be able to get over that hump next year. Who knows? With the group that is coming back, they have so much talent. This could be the group to do it. Well, there you have it. That's a wrap on the 2014-15 Sports Hub. We're, of course, going to have our all region sections coming out on Friday and on Saturday. Who are our players of the year? You're definitely going to want to pick up a copy. Going to have some really good stories coming. If you've watched this program, you probably have a pretty good idea of who our players of the year are going to be, but still, definitely make sure that you check that out. I want to thank all the coaches in the area that have been so cooperative in sending their stats in this year, who have watched this program, who have read our stories online. We really appreciate it, of course, as always. So I guess until football season, this has been Connor O'Gara. Thanks, guys. We'll see you in a few months.